Hey guys, so today we're going to do a video with 3 examples about how to find domain and range when we're given a graph like this. And I'm going to write all my answers in interval notation. So now let's just do some practice here. Let's think about what is domain and what is range. Domain can be defined as like x values of a function. So x values, and then range is going to be our y values. So now I'm going to look at this graph and just figure out, well, where are my x values and then where are my y values. First thing I'm going to notice is, well, my first x value is at -2. My last x value is at, we're going to say that this is in line. Sorry, it's like not a perfect graph, but that's at 3. So we know domain, I'll label it D, is -2 to 3. And now we need to worry about that thing where we have, parentheses or brackets. How do we know which ones to use? You use parentheses if it's a open circle, because that means it does not include the number. So parentheses if open circle. And then now brackets are for closed circles, because that means the point is included in the domain. Brackets are closed circles. So now we can look back at our -2, 3 that we got, and we can see, well, at -2 we have an open circle, so we're going to have a parenthesis around that. Then at 3 we've got a closed circle, so that is part of our domain, so we're going to include that with a bracket. Then now we're going to do a similar thing for our range. Now we're working with y values. Let's find the lowest y value. I see it right here. It seems to be at -1. So we've got -1, and then we've got all the way up. It looks like we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. Let me label -1. So -1 to 5, and now we need to think, are we going to have closed circles or open circles? Well, we're going to assume that this point touches the graph at -1, so that means it exists at -1, which means we've got to put a bracket. And then up at the top, we see at the point 5, it's got a closed circle, so that's also going to be a closed bracket. So that would be our domain and range of this function right here. Just be careful knowing that parentheses are for open and brackets are for closed. And then that range, we're working with the lowest y value to the highest y value. And then domain, the lowest x value to the highest x value. So now let's do another example here. We've got what looks like a square root function. So let's get our domain and our range. So I always like to start with domain. Looks like we're starting at 0. Then what you need to be careful with here is that we've got this arrow, and what that means is that it extends in a similar direction infinitely. So we could keep drawing this and it would just do this forever and ever. It would keep going out. So that means our range, our domain is going to go all the way out to infinity. This line could continue forever. There's still going to be points. So it's going to be 0 to infinity. And now you need to know that with infinity we always use parentheses. So let me write that out. Infinity always uses parentheses, negative or positive infinity. Infinity uses parentheses. Okay, so now 0, is that going to be in a bracket or a parentheses? Well, I see it's a open circle, so we're going to have parentheses. And now the range. The lowest y value seems to be -2. So we've got -2. And then again, think about this line as extending. Even though it's not getting higher by much, it is getting higher. So over time, it will eventually approach all the way up to infinity. It'll just take a long time to get there. So the range is all the way from -2 to infinity. Remember again, infinity takes the parenthesis, and -2 is an open circle, so that's going to take parentheses as well. So that was that example, and just know that with arrows, that means it goes infinitely in the same direction. So now we have a final example here. We've got one that doesn't have any closed or open circles. So we've just got to look at our graph. First thing I notice is the x value, the smallest one I see is there, the largest one I see is there for x values, and well, see that we've got the arrow. That means it's still moving this way infinitely. That was a terrible arrow. Still going this way infinitely, so eventually it will reach negative infinity on the x side, so that would be negative infinity. And then now on the right side we can see that it's going this way, but it's still increasing x values, so that will also reach positive infinity. And remember that infinity takes parentheses. And now our range is going to be a similar thing here. We're going all the way down to negative infinity. It's going to keep approaching because of our arrow right here. And then here, it's going to go all the way up to infinity. So that's going to be our domain and range. You could also say domain equals all real numbers, and range also equals all real numbers. So that was a pretty simple example just to finish things off. I hope you understand all of this. I hope this made sense. Just be careful with closed and open circles, and just make sure you know that range is y values, domain is x values. Thanks for watching. Hope this was able